the last 20 years, and I have been into various technologies and various areas of the development and design. Now, I will be discussing here about the various design aspects, the technologies that we use in the design, how technology affect the design, and what are the various career options as a designer uh, that you can explore or that you can explore basically. Now, the agenda for our today's discussion is, will be understanding what is design and what is technology. What are the different types of designs? Role of technology in design. The skills that are needed for being a good designer. The top tech design careers. And the last topic for today is top technology trends in design. After that, we will be taking up your questions, and that will be our last session for today. Now, before we understand what is design and what is technology here and how they are related to each other, I will ask you here that what you all understand by design. What do you mean by design? You can write down your answers in the chat box. Anyone? What is design and what is technology? Now, design is basically bringing your ideas into reality. Now, when we talk of design and technology here, it is a fusion of creativity, imagination with technology. Being a good designer means that you have to be a good at creativity. You have to be good at imagination. Now, when you have to bring your design in today's world, we are using technology. In earlier world, most of the designing that we used to do was done through the sketching. That was the traditional method of designing. But nowadays, we are using technology. We have integrated various software, various tools to have an effective and a good design. Now, what we will be learning here is that what is the role of the technology into design and what are the various career options that you can explore in the design and technology. Now, benefits of design and technology. Now, if you are a designer, if you opt for a design as a career, then what are the benefits that you get being a good designer or being learning the technologies related to designing? It gives the skills and abilities to engage positively with a designed object and while harnessing the benefits of the technology. Now, when you design something, you are basically exploring into how the things work, your observation grows. You are basically bringing into your skills to observe the various things, how the things are related to each other. And while designing the things, you may be also learning about the various cultures as well. Now, how cultures are associated with the design, that also we will be discussing here. Next is how the products and the systems are designed and manufactured. Now, when you design something, you basically enhance your knowledge. You learn about that, how the various technologies and how the various products, they're being designed and what are the internals of those products and the systems and how they are being manufactured. You learn how to be innovative. You learn how to do the things in different ways. You learn how to explore different alternatives for designing the products. You make the creative use of the resources, including the digital technology. Now, where we have various digital technologies available with us today, such as the digital pen, mics, and all that stuff. So you can have a good design effect. You can have a good animation when using these technologies. So when you are using those products, basically, you are using those digital technologies, you are making your more designs more adaptable to the generations today. And the last benefit here is that you learn how to improve the world around the various organizations, the various people, how to provide them the better product, how to provide them the better resources. That is the main benefit of the design and the technology. That is the main benefit of the good design, basically. Now, design and technology is phenomenally important subject. It is logical, creative, and practical. And it is the only opportunity the students have to apply while what they learn in maths and science. Most of the time, we basically keep on wondering that what all we have learned in mathematics and science throughout our school life, throughout our education, where we apply those things. We basically keep on searching that why we are learning this thing when we can't apply this thing. Now, this is being said. This is being said by James Dyson, who is an industrial designer. He said this thing because whenever we are designing something specifically for engineering and industrial design, we have to apply the principles that we learn in mathematics and science. Now, this is where our actual skills related, our actual knowledge related to mathematics and science comes into picture when we design something specifically for the industrial uses, specifically for the manufacturing sector, for the automobile sector. This is where we learn the math. This is where we implement those maths and science basically. Now, next section here is the different types of design that we can explore today, the different types of design that we have been, we are currently working on, or as a career that you can explore. The first thing that here is architecture design. Now, architecture design is again something where the science and the math comes into picture. This is basically designing the layouts of the building, designing the floor maps, or structure of the building. This is where the architecture comes into picture. Related to architecture is the interior design, providing the good aesthetics to the interiors of the rooms, interiors of the house, interiors of the offices. And when we are designing the interiors, we basically look into the personality, we basically look into the requirements of the client, and we design the product based on their requirement, their personality, their observation. So actually, we are observing those things. So this enhances our ability to observe the things. Another thing that comes in here is the landscape design. Now, all these three things are related to each other. Now, when you're doing an architecture for the building, when you're designing the structure for the building, the layout for the building, you have to plan for the landscape also. When you're planning for the road, when you're designing the road, again, you have to plan for the landscape, for the greenery beside the road. Now that landscape is again being designed, being explored from the computer first, on the software first, and then actually implemented. Another thing that is the industrial design. Industrial design, when we are talking of the product design basically related to the various sectors, various organizations, related to household, related to automobile sector. So we are actually designing the product. Now, when we are designing the product, it is something related to CAD designing, that is computer aided design. We basically design 2D sketch, we design the 3D model for that object. Next one is the engineering design. Now, industrial design and engineering design are again related to each other. Engineering design may be related to somewhere, some products, some small objects, some processes. Engineering design, when we are talking of here, it is not just related to designing the product. It is related to designing the tooling also. The tooling that help you to develop the product, manufacture this product. So that all comes into the engineering design. Another aspect of the engineering design here is the reverse engineering. Now, when we're talking of reverse engineering, we basically try to understand the working of the existing products and try to get the information from there and then convert that information into another product. Next is the software design. Now, software design again involves that how good is your software, how is its appearance, how is it working, so the layout of the software. So it all again related to coding here. When we say software design, it is something related to computer designing, computer coding, programming. That is what we do in the software design. Next step here is the fashion designing. When we talk of fashion designing, it is not just related to designing the dresses, it is related to designing the fabric also. Printouts of the fabric, the designs for the t-shirt, design, logo designing, the embroidery design, that all related to the fashion design. Now, when we talk of graphic design here, graphic design is again a wide, having a wide spectrum here. Graphic design, it relates to the print media, it relates to the online media. We design for the flex banners, we design for the brochures, we design the logos. So that all comes as a part of the graphic design. Next is the information architecture design. Now this stream is something different from all of these. Information architecture design here, it relates to the data. That is how the data is flowing through the structure, through the entire process. That flow of information that we have to design, that is called information architecture design. It is related to designing the structure of the data. It is related to designing how the information is flowing from one process to the other. Now, what is the input? What is the output? That all is a part of your information architecture design. Next is the user interface design. Now, user interface design plays an important role as far as the today's technology is concerned, and most of the things are moving on online. We are developing applications, we are developing mobile apps. The user interface design here plays an important role to keep your customers, to keep your users loyal to you. So they will be using your application, they will be using your system. If the user interface, if the user interaction provided by that application, provided by that software is user friendly. Next is the game design. That is again quite popular among the young generation here. Designing the games, designing game design should be something that should be fast. The graphics should be changing fast. It integrates the animation with the audio, with the videos. So it involves a lot of multimedia into it. So when we say that there are different types of design, design not just relate to the graphic designing. We have different aspects of the design. We have the design that is being used in the engineering sector. We have the design that is being used in the automobile sector, industry sector, fashion designing, software companies. So design is everywhere. So this is one of the industries in the IT sector that is going to last for a long. Now, role of technology in the design, that how the technology helps in designing. Now, the main thing here is that today technology is playing a lot of role in designing, but before we design something, we have to understand the user requirement. We have to understand that what the user think about our design, what kind of interaction they expect, what kind of interface they expect. Now, this is all related to something like chatbots, voice integration, gestures, user flows. Apart from that, what kind of product the user is expecting, whether we are talking about the automobile, whether we are talking about any other product, even the household products such as toothpaste. So what kind of product that they are expecting, what kind of packaging they are expecting. If like, for instance, if you have to impress children here, you may be having some cartoon all over the packing, some cartoon in doing the interaction. Now that kind of thing is required, that technology here, that kind of thing that to gather the information that what your customer feels like, you need technology for there. You have to conduct surveys, you have to gather information, and on the basis of that, you lay out your design. And to lay out your design, again, we have the technologies, we have the various tools that help you design the things here. So technology is the biggest driver behind the design these days. And it is equally important that when technology is being the driver behind the design, it is the main component that is helping you to design something. It is quite important that the designer They must be aware of the changes in the technology. They must be aware of what is new in that field. They must be tech savvy, or they must, because the customer is itself is tech savvy. Now, to design a product that can impress the customer, the customer who is tech savvy, the designer has to be aware of the new technologies. He has to keep on learning the new technology. Now, what are the skills needed for being a good designer? Now, a good designer need not, it is not required that a good designer should be good in the designing, in the sketching. Apart from that, he must be good in the various other skills as well. Now, we will be discussing those skills in which the designer should be good. The first and foremost for good designer is the creativity. Creativity means that learning new things, exploring new things, learning the new way to do things. And another thing here is that to design something out of nothing, that is what is creativity here. Another thing that a designer needs is the storytelling. Now, just like I told you that to impress children, children like storytelling here. They love to listen to stories here. Now, to impress somebody like that, you need to be a good storyteller. You need to be a good storyteller at animation. When you're doing animation, when you're designing games and all that stuff, you have to be good at storytelling. Another important aspect for a good designer is the knowledge of the fonts. Typography deals with the knowledge of the font. Now, what are the good fonts available? What are the different types of fonts available? What type of font can be used in this kind of application or in this kind of design? That is what is the knowledge of typography. So a good designer must have the knowledge of the fonts. Then a good designer must have the knowledge of the color, that what are the different modes of color. Like most of the time we use two types of color schemes, that is RGB and CMYK. Now CMYK is mainly used for the print design and RGB is mainly used for the online design. In case you are designing animation for television shows, in case you are designing the advertisement, if you are doing something for the ads, for the telecast, for the online shows, for the telecast, then we would be using the color scheme related to RGB. And CMYK is mainly used for the print technology. Apart from that, we must be aware of that what are the different color combination that we can use, which color goes well with which color. That is the understanding that is required for a good designer. So he must be aware of the various color templates available, various color combinations that are available. Now, for a good designer, it is important to have the knowledge of the cultural aspects for a particular region, for a particular area, for a particular location for which he is designing that particular design or advertisement or animation, whatever it may be. Now, we have seen examples of good advertisement being shelved down because it is not following the cultural aspect of a particular area or a particular religion. So it is quite important to have the understanding of the cultural aspect, that what is allowed, what is not allowed, that you should be aware of. Now, in case you want to be a creative designer, you must have the knowledge of the creative application. Now, creative applications are the one that allows you to do sketching, that allows you to do portrait, that allows you to mix the images, change the images, edit the images. So that kind of applications are basically the creative application. So, for example, we have the Corel Suite, we have the Adobe application. All these are related to the creative design. They basically, here you can explore your creative aspect. Being a creative designer, you must also be designing. You may be getting into a situation where you need to design an interactive media. where it can talk, where it can speak. So when you are doing that thing, you need to be aware of the how to integrate sound into it, how to integrate video into it, how to design sound, how to uh, edit the video. That all thing is required as a creative designer, as an interactive designer, as an animation designer. Next thing we are talking about is more about something related to the industrial application or the engineering application, that is engineering design application. Now, in case you want to be an industrial designer, in case you want to be an automobile designer, you must be aware of the tools, you must be aware of the application that helps you to design the engineering the drawing, that help you to design the 3D modeling, that help you to design the applications related to the various industrial uses, that help you to design the molds, that help you to design the processes, tools. So basically, engineering design application involves the application such as you have AutoCAD, you have Siemens, NX, so SolidWorks. So all these applications are basically related to the engineering design. Now, in case you are basically you want to be an engineering, and apart from that, you need to be having the knowledge of how the various engineering principles are applicable here, or mathematics and science. Then only you will be able to have a grasp of the engineering design application. Apart from these skills, the other skills that may be required but may not be necessary is photography. So particularly in case you are a creative designer, you want to be a creative designer, you can explore photography as one of the options here. Again, photography requires a lot of skills, a lot of observations. So you need to be good at observation for being a good photographer. So that is what is our next skill, that is observation skill, that how you observe the thing, what is important that you have to be aware of. Then another important thing is branding. Now, branding knowledge is again something that is important, whether you are a creative designer or whether you are a engineering design application, in case you are using engineering design application. Now, branding plays an important role because every organization, they have strict rules of branding here. You must follow those rules, how to represent their logo, where to represent their logo. They have all the big organizations, in case you're working for any big organization, they have the strict rules regarding that. Violating of these rules can land you into a big legal trouble. Another thing that is important that you may be aware of is in case you are designing for a print design. Now, print design again plays an important role. It is again something that is related to the creative designers who are designing for the print media. That print media, that what are the color schemes that are required for the print media? What kind of margins you have to leave? What kind of area should be left for the cutting margins and all that stuff? So that you should be aware of in case you have to design something for the print. Next section that we are going to discuss for today is the top tech design career. So what are the careers related to design and technology? So we have a web developer or a web designer, then we have visual designer, UI and UX designer. Now, web developer or designer is the one that is responsible for designing the images, designing the layout, designing the structure of the website. So he's actually not coding for the website, he's basically designing the visual aspect of the website. Then you have visual designer. Visual designer here is designing the various visual themes, integrating images, mixing images, editing images, designing logos. Now all these things are comes as a part of the visual design. Then UI and UX designer. UI designer basically related to the user interface designer. Now user interface designer means that you have to be aware of that. What are the good ways of getting the information from the user? What kind of designs appeal to the user? The design should be clutter-free. It should not be distracting. So all these things, all these aspects need to be taken care of if you want to be a UI designer. Then augmented reality designer. Augmented reality designer is basically something to virtual reality and augmented reality, where you design, where you basically provide the skills such as the experience that the viewer, the user is immersed into your presentation. That is, he feels that he is the part of that presentation, part of that video. So that means that providing something 5D or 7D visual experience to the person. Then we have a game designer. Game designer should be good at the animation, should be good at designing the cartoons and all that stuff. Then we have multimedia animator, should be able to mix sound with video, should be able to do the video editing. So that is what is the multimedia editor. 3D animation is one of the aspects of the multimedia animator. Then we have mobile designer, designing for the mobile devices, designing for the mobile like iOS and Android designing. Then we have product designer. Product designer is again related to engineering design, designing the new product. Understand, again, you will be using the tools such as AutoCAD, tools such as Siemens NF. So all these tools will be required being a product designer. The last option here is the packaging designer. So person who is buying something is looking at the packaging first. So a good packaging, that is the one that impresses the customer to buy something. So you have to be good at something related to print design when you want to be a packaging designer. Next is top technology trends in the design. The top technology trends that we have in design are artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence fits into designing, that is the question that may arise into your mind. Artificial intelligence is something like we basically provide an automatic intelligence to the devices like chatbots. These are all basically artificial intelligence. They basically understand your question and answer to you. Now, where the technology, where the design, where artificial intelligence fits into design, that is the question that may arise. Now, suppose you are designing something, you need certain images. Now, understanding your design, it is basically something related to the design tools. Now, understanding your design and then presenting you with the images, stock images related to your design, that is what is the artificial intelligence integrated into your design. So basically, it helps you to speed up your process. It helps you to give you various options related to your design automatically. So basically, it is helping you into the designing. Next is virtual reality. As I discussed here, virtual reality is physical immersion. So designing something where your customer, where your viewer feels to be the part of that particular movie. Like if you're watching a movie, you might be going into the theaters for watching 5D, 7D movies, and you may feel like, okay, the object is coming to you, you are feeling the droplets of rain falling on you. So that is basically something related to virtual reality. Now, that kind of thing means that you need to be more imaginative, you need to be more observatory, because you have to give that experience to the user that how, though the rain is not falling in actual, you have to make him feel that it is actually raining. So that means you have to have a complete observation that how you feel like when it is raining, when the droplets of rain fall on you. So that is what is you have to bring into your design. Next is sensory design. Now, sensory design is again related to virtual reality, enhanced virtual reality, that is we call the augmented reality, where we design something that can give you the feeling of that particular design, that can sense, you can sense that design, like we have various sense organs like eyes, nose, the skin to feel the touch basically. Now that kind of sensory designs means that if you are buying something online here, you can feel how the fabric look like. You can, if you're buying a teddy, you feel the fur while touching your mouse or touching your design here, while touching the something on your tab or something on your touchpad here. So that kind of feeling that you have to bring into your design, senses need to be bring into the design. That is what is sensory design. Now, all these things is going to take some time, but these are the trends that people are already working on these things, and maybe reality. Some of these are already we have that kind of feeling, but in coming time, most of these things will be in your households. The last one here is the 3D scanning, modeling, and printing. Now, this is already there for several years, like 3D scanning and modeling. 3D printing is something that is there in for the last couple of years, but more and more areas are being explored in those things. So 3D scanning, 3D modeling is one of the areas that you can explore in your design, particularly in the engineering design. Now, these are the areas where we design and print the object. Most of the aircraft companies, they are basically printing the aeroplane parts using the 3D modeling and printing. So you can see that applicability that even like dentist, the tooth cap that you are using, it can be printed using the 3D modeling and printing. The artificial limbs, they are again being printed through 3D modeling and printing. So 3D scanning and modeling and printing is something, though it is all these technologies are initially quite costly there. But over a period of time, like 3D printing, 3D printer costs you a lot of money, but the thing that you make through it, it becomes quite accurate, it becomes quite reliable, and the cost of production is reduced because you're not dependent on your labor, you're not dependent on the persons. You individually can design, model, and print the object, right? So that was all for today. I'm looking for your questions in case you have any. You can ask me the question right now in the session, or in case you want to ask any question later on, you can always mail at info@saartechnosoft.com.
Thank you, sir. As a reminder, make sure that you write your questions in the chat box. You can also mention any suggestions or questions or your thoughts about today's topic. So we have few questions here.
Yeah. Now, first question here is how much time will it take to learn graphic design? Now, it all depends upon you that how much time you are taking, what kind of tools you are using, how good you are at your creativity. So how good you are at the observation and how good you are at the exploring the various tools here. Now it may take, for being a good designer, it may take any time, anything from 6 months to 1 year. It all depends upon that what tool you are learning and how much time you are devoting per day. There is no such trick to know which technology we should opt for. It all depends upon your passion. So if you have a passion for designing, you have to look into that, whether you are good at the creative, whether you are good at the arts, whether you are good at the observation, or whether you are good at the science and maths. Now, if you're good at science and math, you can opt for the engineering design as your field. And in case you are good at creative, if you're good at observation, you can opt for creative designing as your field. You don't have to be learn all the technologies to earn better. In that case, it will be something that we say that jack of all, master of none. So as the saying says that you have to master at least one technology. So you don't have to learn all the technology. You have to master one technology and you have to keep on upgrading on the new additions, new observations, new things that are related to that technology. You are a beginner, you want to create graphics, which technology or app should I start with? Now, for graphics, for creative graphic, the best of the apps are you have Adobe Illustrator, you have Corel Draw, you can opt for any of those applications. There is no right age to start learning these technologies. You can start at any age. But the thing is that the more later you start, you have to devote more time because there are a lot of things to learn into these technologies, and all of these technologies, they need time. Any other question?
Please mention if you have any other question. I think we have covered all the questions, sir. Is there anything else you want to mention before we conclude?
So you can still note down our email ID in case you want to ask any questions to us. You can mail those questions to at info@saartechnosoft.com.
So thank you everyone for attending today's session. If you have any other questions, suggestions, or you want to know more about our company and services, do mail us at info@saartechnosoft.com. You can see the email ID on your screen. And we hope that you enjoyed this session. You will receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. And this recording will also be available on our YouTube channel by tomorrow. So you can watch the previous recordings as well as this recording over there as well. Now, on the behalf of SAAR Technosoft and our presenters, thank you for joining us today and have a great day ahead. Please don't forget that we have our next webinar on public speaking and presenting on 12th of June. Thank you once again.